live. Yes, yes, yes. Greetings, greetings. Oh, and it's 4:44. Look at that. I ain't even planned it like that. That's what's up. Talk about synchronicity. Woo! Talk about synchronicity. Fo fo fo. On MLK Day. That's deep. Hold on. 444 on the 44 resonator day. What's up with that? You can't even plan that. You know, that's just what they say as fate would have it. Ooh, child. Fo, fo, fo. All right, let me pull this up. Give my dude King some shine. You know, we in Atlanta, so it's kind of weird if you live in Atlanta and you don't understand the contributions that this man made to our lives. So, real story, 2012, I was down here. I didn't live down here, but I was in Atlanta, and I went to visit MLK's house and his tomb on April 4th. I don't think it was it his birthday? Was the day that he, no, it probably, yeah, it was 4/4. It was the day that he got assassinated. I went and I visited his crib, took the tour and everything. You know what I'm saying? They was telling you don't touch stuff. I was touching stuff. You feel me? And then I walked over to his tomb. You know, he has a center right across the street. They got him down there on Auburn and Edgewood, where shit super duper ratchet. You feel me? So I went down there and paid my respects. You know what I'm saying? I try as best as I can to separate my politics from my appreciation for people and their dedication, especially if they sacrificed something and gave their life for the quote unquote people. You know, yeah, on top of the waters, his tomb. They got him buried next to his wife. You know, real dope setup. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, like I think that it's important that we pay our respects. None of us was alive. I don't think none of y'all was alive during those times. You really don't understand the politics of that time. People talk real slick about nonviolence, but none of them niggas ever got violent. You know what I'm saying? Other with one another. So if you stood for violence, and the only violence we know is the violence that you committed against one another, but you stand in oppositions to what this man represented, and he passed legislation that you benefit from for this day, I think, you know what I'm saying, you should watch your mouth. Because it really don't pan out. Your activities never add up to your protests. You don't like what he did, you do something different. You've had 50 plus years to show and prove what you made of, and it never manifests itself. So, you know, that's those empty protests, you know. And today I watched on the Shade Room as they posted all of the flyers for the MLK parties, and it was shits and giggles. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody was catching a laugh. They attempted to post it and have some level of journalistic integrity because they was reporting on the ratchetness that comes along with this day, but they didn't ever condemn it. You know, they never stand up against it. They still use their platform to put all of that debauchery online. You know what I'm saying? And this is the way that our people show up, you know, for what's considered to be the last leader. You know, he's like the last airbender of melanated people. Truth be told. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of people can throw other names in the ring, but this was the last, like, official, recognized, quote-unquote, leader that put his life on the line, sacrificed, and got sacrificed for the people for the most part. So I think that it's appropriate that if they know you better than you know yourselves at this point, right? Because your adversaries or your opposition study you like a science. They study you like a political science. They gauge your attentiveness. They gauge your activities, right? And they also take the temperature at every time to see where you're at mentally when it comes to your adoration for leadership. The things that you covet are the things that you either one protect, right? The things that you edify. If you covet leadership, then you would raise children to be leaders. You know what I'm saying? You would actually put them in front of other people that were indicative of the leadership that you want your children to be. But since when they knocked off King, you know what I'm saying, then they brought in, once the riots happened, then that allowed them to operate what Daniel Moynihan called malign neglect, which was leave them niggas alone, right? Let them figure it out. That's what the Democrats had said post 60s. Because remember, LBJ comes after JFK, and he passes what's called the Great Society. And I've been speaking about it, but I recommend that everybody looks up the Great Society because this is the social reform that everybody has, for the most part, benefited from. And all politics that appear to be like the Democrats versus the Republicans, this is them saying this was the Democrats bringing in socialism when they brought about the Great Society, which were all social programs, which they say black people or melanated people, right, have benefited from. And I'm specifically speaking about NBC's Negroes, Blacks, and Colors. My niggas, if you were more, this ain't got nothing to do with you because, right, you've never been on welfare. You don't have any stake. You don't have any allegiance to this place. This shit ain't got nothing to do with you, so don't get in the comments, please. So, the Great Society is the legislation that they passed, right? The war on poverty comes out of the Great Society. You feel me? They created something called the EOC, or the EEO, my bad, the Office of Economic Opportunity, and it was helmed by Dick Cheney. Well, it was looted by Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld. If y'all are new to politics, you might want to do the research into the presidency of George W. Bush Jr. and his cabinet, Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney. These are the same people that later on will go and start the Iraq War. This was the same person, Donald Rumsfeld, that reported there was $2 trillion missing from the budget the day before 9/11 kicks off. He was in charge of the Pentagon. Before they looted the country for trillions of dollars, though, they had looted the economic opportunity, the Office of Economic Opportunity. That was like the Freedmen's Bureau post-civil rights. In so many words, they freed the slaves and they gave them the Freedmen Banks, not the Freedmen Bureau, but the Freedmen Bank. And then they looted that, right? After the riots, and they turned up after King, they gave them, this particular endowment, right? And then when by the time Nixon came in and he put them in position, they looted that, right? Maybe of several $billion. Okay. And it was never accounted for. Nobody ever found out where the money went. You know what I'm saying? And they divested all of this money. They took all of this money for melanated people, kicked them in their ass, sent them down the road. And then, we've been here ever since, continuously, nonstop ass kicking. And these same melanated people sent their babies to go to war, to fight for these same people who've been kicking them down up the ass and kicking them down the road ever since to this day. You feel me? And then when people like us come along and tell you what's really going on, then we get all kind of fingers pointed at us and called all kind of names and shit. Just because we trying to put you on to shit that we already know and that you just now catching on to, that you should have known all your fucking life because this is part of Black history. So the Food Stamp Act, right? If you ever use fucking food stamps, you benefited from the blood of MLK. If you've ever gone to the Peace Corps, you benefited from the blood of MLK. If you ever had fucking Social Security, you benefited from the blood of MLK. If you ever had Head Start, you benefited from the blood of MLK. If you ever had welfare, vouchers, or programs, you've benefited from the blood of MLK. Right? So before you join these bozos online to talk about he led us into a burning house, make sure you cut a check and send all that motherfucking entitlement and endowment that you received from the government back to the government. And then you can fix your face to come online to talk about some shit that you don't know about. Right? For a sacrifice that this man had to give his life up for. And the shit. Oh, and if you've ever got any Medicaid or Medicare, my nigga, then you should shut the fuck up too. Because all of this comes out of the blood sacrifice on April 4th, 1968 of Martin Luther King in the city of Memphis where kings go to die. Okay? So pay some respect. Right? Same way that you pay respect to Trump because he gave you PPP. This was PPP before PPP. Right? And he had to give his whole life up. And they threw people, what does Tyreek call it? Tangibles, right? So Negroes would not tear up the rest of the countries. Negroes. I didn't say Moors. I said Negroes. Right? Because they was tearing shit up in at least 31 cities, even if it was their own neighborhoods. These people were terrified and they had to appease the natives, right? And calm them down and give them a level, at least of tangibles. If you've ever seen anything that came out of public broadcasting, you know, PBS and shit like that, you need to sit down and take several fucking seats. So if you've ever benefited from PBS, Reading Rainbow, right? Any of that shit, all of that comes out of the sacrifices made from the massacre or assassination, whether it was government, military, because it was military based, right? But they'll take him off the board and appease you and give you all of these social programs as long as they got him out of the way because his voice represented too much of a threat. They wasn't scared of Malcolm X necessarily because niggas was not going to turn up, and niggas did not turn up when Malcolm X got assassinated, and they knew that shit was internal. And the documentary said that they have FBI informants at the highest level of the nation, and they never said who those agents was, mind you. So I think that some things they have already figured out that was neutralized. I don't think that they had MLK under control. I don't think that they had a muzzle on him. He was changing his mind and they was terrified because he had the sway of the people, being nonviolent or not. If he said go, people went. It wasn't like that with Malcolm X. It wasn't like that with. So even the threat of a violent movement that never amounts to violence, that's not threatening. You know what I'm saying? So the niggas with the boots on the ground is getting beat up. At least they had the boots on the ground. Right? They fell through with their promises. If they said that they was going to show up, they showed up. Even to get beat. The niggas who said that they was going to wild out never wild out. So why would that be a concern of the government? It never amounted to no, tangible threats. Right? And then crack comes. Well, dope comes first. And then the pimping comes. And then the crack comes. So all of that happened on the violent watch. And no violence ever amounted to push back the threat. And then here we are in 2023. And once again, Niggas is still online talking crazy about MLK, and every fucking body benefited from the appeasement programs that came after they killed the man who was really a king. Right? It don't even matter. He was Boule, and you don't even understand what that means. To even say, he was Boule. What does that mean to you? Because he damn sure wasn't following the script of appeasing the king. After some point, once he realized there was bullshit, he bucked the program. He bucked the programming. He was off script. His speech the night before on April 3rd in the Masonic Lodge down in Memphis, he was bucking the script. His speech a year before in the Riverside Church on April 4th, 1967, he was bucking the script and pushing back and saying shit that was not supposed to be said. He was clearly showing that he was breaking the programming and speaking out against the war and speaking about economic indifferences. He was fucking with the money. When you fuck with the money, you got to go. So until you fuck with the money, you're not a threat. You can say everything else. You could talk about racial solidarity, nationality. You could talk about it all. You feel me? But until you fuck with the money, you're not going to get nobody's attention and be considered a threat and have to have your head popped off. And if you're not willing to go to those lengths, then you just jaw-jacking. And you're appeasing yourself and your own ego to think that you're threatening somebody. But this shit, once again, it never amounts to anything, as you can see. Because people are still in them same situations that they was post 1968. And it's been exasperated by the dope, the motherfucking, the debauchery, the crack, now the Fendi, the dope is back, the doozy back. You know what I'm saying? So we can be like, oh, stay out of the kid. Well, he put it on the line. His wife put it on the line. You know what I'm saying? They popped his mama, nigga. Like, do you even know that? They took his whole bloodline up out of here. You feel me? So, like sacrifice looks totally different when you commit yourself really, really, really to your people. You know what I mean? And then you get compromised by your own inner circle, and then whatever happens after the fact happens after the fact, like they flipped his family, like some of his children is with the shit or something like that. But like homie made a sacrifice. And I just know enough just to stay out of the way. Even if I don't agree with certain things, I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you opening your mouth to say what? That takes a whole lot of fucking nerve, my nigga. And it's fucked up shit going on right now, right in front of you that you can actually put a finger on, and you smiling about that. But you want to say something about something that took place 50 plus years ago that you wasn't around to have, no tangible effects on. But once again, like I said, but the lady who accused Emmett Till of hollering at her and the shit started the civil rights movement, she's still alive to this day. And nobody's spun a block on her. And you spill her blood, it might open a black hole. That's how much motherfucking black blood she has underneath her fingertips. Right? She kicked off the civil rights movement. You know how many leaders had to motherfucking die and get decapitated in the midst of that? And then them dying, creating a vacuum in a black hole, bringing about these CIA-sponsored military programs to flood the hood with drugs, right? And to prop up the gangster and the motherfucking pimp to replace the revolutionary. And then to this day, people haven't figured it out, and there's multi-billion-dollar corporations still funding that toxicity in our neighborhood, and we still applauding it, right? And the debauchery has become us so much that the spawn seed of the toxic niggas is the ones making flyers, desecrating and shitting on the legacy of somebody like King. and their nigga lifts a finger to it, but yet we spreading the shit or looking at it on social media, like, go and report them pages. That should never be allowed. You feel me? Nor if it is, we should not be surprised as why they would throw a monument up. You know what I'm saying? Looking like it do. Like, why would that surprise anybody at all? That they would put the monument up with no head on it, saying that the leadership has been decapitated amongst these people. We have nothing to worry about. Right? Look how they do their own. What white folks got to worry about? What do they got to... The only thing they got to do is celebrate the debauchery. Only thing they got to do is highlight the defeat. Only thing they got to do is pour fuel on pour salt on an already open wound that has yet to heal. Right? Because the killing of the king ritual is the decapitation of the king ritual, the off with the head. That is the Moorish defeat. You know, when they killed the kings in Spain or Hispaniola and all of them places, not Hispaniola, we talking about the Iberian Peninsula, when they was crusading against the quote-unquote kings, because this is still a continuation of their crusade. Anytime they killed the king, they cut the head off. So this is the king, this is the last king that they had to kill, and there hasn't been no tangible leadership since. You could quote me on that. Right? And I had the nerve to be sitting up here talking about Ratchet TV the other day. I need to apologize and shut the fuck up and once again take several seats. Because what's taking place in quote unquote ratchet black America is one thing. But then I watched another episode of Love and Hip Hop, goddammit. And whether they was doing this shit for TV or not, at least they attempted reconciliation on camera, right? And then nobody's speaking about the common denominator that's present in all of these situations, which is liquor. Right? Which is liquor. So, yeah, they be fighting on TV, right? Yeah, they be fighting. Yeah, they be snatching off weaves and wigs and shit like that. Yeah, this shit extra ratchet. But they all extra drunk. So there's never been a coalition against alcohol. You feel me? Look, that was the common denominator in Tory and Megan situation. That was the common denominator in Takeoff situation, right? What else we looking at? That was the common denominator in all of these situations. The presence of alcohol. Right? Yeah, that was the common denomination in Ye's situation when he got on Drink Champs. Right? Why are you interviewing a nigga that's pissy drunk, talking crazy? That might have been the common denominator even in Jaguar Wright situation. Right? Chill, son, that's not right. Don't laugh.
People don't even know.
Chill,
The
son.
way you be stopping me. The way you be coming at me, yo.
Chill, son.
How you want to?
Because you getting it wrong.
Why you looked at me?
So, but what's the excuse for consciousness? Because these niggas is supposed to be, right, so motherfucking positive that they don't drink. So what's the excuse for the craziness that we see in consciousness? We can't even open our mouth and speak to the ratchet shit if niggas is not looking at the motherfucking crazy ass weird activities that's taking place in this fucking community around cultish behavior. Right? And the illest fucking drug of all, which is fame. You feel me? The illest fucking drug of all, which is fame. The fucking views. being seen and racking up views, right? Hit the thumbs up, shares, and the likes. All that stupid shit that everybody's programmed to say because they want a motherfucker hack that. Right? Look, I could give a fuck. If you ain't here to see this shit, then that's what it is. I'm going to probably delete it afterwards. If you ain't catch it, it wasn't for you, man. Fuck that shit. The things that people is doing for fucking fame, for likes, for shares. Putting on for these cameras. It's the illest drug of them all. It's the illest fucking drug of them all. And it's making people go batshit crazy or skitzing them out. So the distilled spirits, we can account for that. Yeah, people is inebriated. You know, they're getting overcome by these motherfucking spirits. It's activating their trauma and their pain bodies. They're activating and operating out of their pain. We get it, yeah. But what the fuck is accounting for these people in these communities with this cultish behavior, right? These beta ass males following these other niggas that obviously don't have no motherfucking traits of an alpha, and no one can like see through this shit. That these children need some serious help. And then that shit is getting packaged and bundled in with quote unquote consciousness. And nobody is like, yo, man, keep that shit way over there. That don't got nothing to do with me. Don't even put me in the same conversation or sentence. They need more than just a hug. And it's like the same prototype. It's like the niggas who will follow behind a Nature Boy is the same niggas who will follow behind an Andrew Tate. Right? And all of this shit is dealing with a level of pimpology that comes out of the generational shit that comes from my generation that we never put a stop on. We never went to war against these ideologies. Right? But again, it's the same shit that took root in our communities post the assassination of MLK, specifically and particularly, right? When they clipped him, when they cut his head off. And then these hoods erupted and the vacuum was created. They got filled in with people who didn't have the best noble intentions. Because at the same time, as my father said, they walked in to see Superfly. They had on dashikis, and they came out of that shit, and they took the dashikis off, and they motherfucking straightened their hairs. They had afros and dashikis when they went to see Superfly. When they came out, they had motherfucking conks. And nothing has been the same since. And as a community, we have not stood up and said, look, man, fuck pimp culture. Right? Fuck crack culture. If you pimp, if you sell drugs, you an enemy of the motherfucking community. Somebody needs to off your head. You feel me? You need to be motherfucking dealt with. You're a pariah. You're an eyesore. You're fucking lowlife. You the worst of the worst. You a cocksucker. That never happened. We never put our energy towards that. Even the women wasn't like, oh, that shit is whack. Instead, they got caught up, preyed upon. They looking for love in all the wrong places to this day. Yeah, that's cool. You could disagree all you want. But it's the truth. It's what happened. When they had a revolution, right, it's called the Battle of Algiers. They said that the first people that you have to get rid of in your community is pimps and prostitutes because these are the easiest people to flip. When you seen the movie Panther, right, and they were showing you, not Black Panther, nigga, the movie Panther about the Black Panthers in Oakland, directed by Melvin Van Peebles, they showed how, and it's on record, I could take you back to all of the history of it. I'm going to explain to you exactly what happened when I give you the updated version, what happened in the 70s. The police sided with the gangbangers or the niggas who was mobbing in the hood, who couldn't sell drugs no more, because when the Black Panthers came, they was like, yo, we gotta, you gotta go across the street with that shit. You gotta go down the block with that. You can't do that over here. So when the police got the word from the mob because they was fucking up the dope money and the police was taking the take, they weaponized the police or deputized the police, and the police went and deputized the gangsters and the pimps, right, to run down on the revolutionaries. And unfortunately, a nigga like Huey P was smoking crack. So they always was able to find an inroad in, once again, to deal with someone who hadn't dealt with their lobotomy. And to his credit, right, or we have to preference the fact that when he was incarcerated, they gave him a lobotomy. So they went inside of his brain and they fucked with the wiring because he was always said to be a genius. He was always said to be a genius, but when he came out from incarceration, he wasn't the same person no more. Because they fucked with his brain. This is, they was doing these, like, these, COINTELPRO. This shit is military. It's not just police. They're doing all sorts of Operation Paperclip, things on people. The shit they learned from the Nazis. Yeah, you could look this up, of course. So the police sided with the gangsters to get rid of the revolutionaries. You feel me? And then, what became the exception now becomes the rule. And then our children grow up in gang culture knowing nothing else. And then that's the soil from which they're bred from. And then you can't expect them to not grow up like weeds. Not strong oak trees out of Oakland, but weeds, thorny weeds at that. And then they proliferated into a culture by making it soundtracks for it. Okay, Bobby shit was the police, granted. So yeah, all that shit was infiltrated. And so was Karenga with the U.S. movement. So all of that shit, you had police fighting police. You had one level of operatives fighting another level of operative, both to fill a vacuum that should not have been created in the first place. Right? If the people put the protection and the value around their leadership. But King was doing shit in the backdrop when he was on the road fucking with snow bunnies and pink toes. So his shield, his cosmic shield and spiritual protection was compromised as well. It wasn't just J. Edgar Hoover sending, letters to him or his wife saying, yo, we got tapes of you choking out white bitches in a hotel. You need to kill yourself. He was doing Kel shit on the road, they said. Allegedly. They called him the monster. He used to be punishing them. So yeah, his because I'm of the personal belief is that if you lying at home to your whiz and you not being faithful, and that's where your protection comes from, your protection is always going to emanate from the thing that's closest to you. That's where your force field comes. Your force field can't be external to your house, right? Your force field has to be rooted in that particular experience. And then it emanates wherever you go, you should be protected. When she prays for you, that's one thing. When she prays on you, that's another thing. You feel me? All right, somebody said, at that time as a black man, who wouldn't choke a white woman? Hey, I'm just saying. Call it what you want. You call it what you want. I'm just saying he was compromised. As we can see, and when when you don't have immunity, then viruses rush in. So you can see from the picture that's shown all around him, he had agents. He was infiltrated. He could not see, right? When you out there playing these games and your shit is not 100%, you do not have the protection in the force field that you need to have going up against the adversarial forces that you're going up against. So he got compromised from within and lined up. And then it was that much more easier to get him. You feel me? Garvey was compromised as well. His right-hand man was the feds. Garvey was the very first case of infiltration of COINTELPRO. He was the very first infiltration. What you mean? I don't know if he was sliding on his lady. I don't know what sort of behavior he was engaged in per se, but he could not see the fact that his right-hand man was the feds. Right? Martin couldn't see his right-hand man was the fed. Malcolm couldn't see that his right-hand man was the feds. Right? So you got to ask these niggas today, which one of these niggas right-hand mans is the feds? Right? Or it's just, now it's the phone. You just doing it to yourself. They don't even got to put no motherfucking, no tail or no federal, because you're on a federal device, feeding them every single thing that they need. So I'm not telling them nothing that they don't know already. I'm reaffirming this shit. They like, check. This nigga be teaching. Ain't no secrets. Y'all just don't know it. They know it. And them niggas could tell you who your friends are better than you know it. You need to go consult the boys and your motherfucking ancestors to really know what the fuck is going on out here, because they know your business better than you do. Because these niggas are sloppy, telling, everything online to one another in the background. And they got motherfucking, they got feeds and tails and lines on everyone. And then your ancestors will tell you some shit that you might be in denial about. Right? So let's go through some receipts real quick. So this ain't take no time. Pope Francis fuels rumors that he's about to leave and step down and retire. Right? Pope Pablo did. So we batting 10 for 10 over here right now with this shit. And then this article over here that speaks about the uptick in young people now going to Satanism rather than going to the church. This is what we've been talking about. This is all we've been talking about. So it's like, we put on a profound, lecture, presentation. Our next presentation, me and Red are going to do when in Rome. Hopefully the Pope will stick around for this before he retires. But nonetheless, like I said, we batting 10 for 10. And I gave people the whole game on how to use their phones to do shit. And those who pulled up, hopefully they got the information. And I told them, I said, I'm going to wake up to receipts. I don't owe nobody nothing at this point. I don't owe you no explanation. You see what it is. You know what it is. And shit, I'm going to have an opportunity to wake up to some receipts. And lo and behold, the receipts that I woke up to was profound today. It was profound. Pope is about to leave. They said Satanism on a rise. And I'm not promoting Satanism. I'm just saying, what if y'all have been worshiping Satan all along? Because the Pope said there's an elegant demon that's in the Vatican that they don't have no control over. So I'm like, shit, if the Pope says it's the elegant demon, and we know who the elegant demon is, I'm like, God damn, like, y'all be promoting Satan like this is one strong motherfucker that nobody got a leash or a handle on. Can't nobody put their finger on this nigga. Don't have his GPS. He never took a L to this day. Please tell me when, because God tell you he gonna take a L in the future. But according to biblical scholars, everything that the devil or demons have to do has to be authorized by God. Because I've been asked you, where do the devil get the authority to do the shit that he do if you want to play this game of angels and demons or God and the devil? Where do he get the authority? How is he pulling a roost? Because you have to come up with a thought, right? You got to come up with a thought to do this devilish shit. The thought got to go through, God's, what's the shit that they got? His signal board, right? Like, where do the thoughts go through? They got to bounce off God and shit. He don't hear the thoughts. He don't know where it's coming from. Oh shit. He's outpacing the person that said that he's omnipotent and omnipresent, he's outrunning this nigga. You gotta wait to Armageddon till he get his ass whooped. So that means that he's still king of this dominion until Jesus return. Well, no, first Michael got to return with the legions first, right? But the devil with his 33% of angels down here is still gonna be running ramshot on demon time until Michael show up, and then y'all niggas let Michael get killed and call Tim Wacko Jacko. All right, okay. So where we at with it? And I'm asking biblical scholars to answer some of these questions because, now that we got these platforms, you can't tell us to shut up and tell us we can't come to church no more. And before I go and ask these questions to ChatGPT, I want to see if the people who are the religious scholars know any of this. And they dropped a bombshell today. They dropped a bombshell in the New Yorker magazine about Eric Adams and the Bishop Lamont. Woo! Oh, they cooked him. They dropped a bombshell on Eric Adams, and then they also dropped a bombshell on Project Veritas. And Project Veritas bombshell is very subjective because what they were speaking about is that Project Veritas had the diary of Joe Biden's daughter, Jill. In her diary, she was saying that her father used to take showers with her when she was a kid, and she feels uncomfortable. So what did the Bidens do? They had the fucking feds run down on them and lock them up and ramshack their business, and turn shit upside down. But they never said that the story was fake. She was writing it in her journal. They locking him up saying that the journal was stolen. But they never said the journal wasn't real, right? And nobody took the time out to say, why is this little girl saying that her father did inappropriate things to her in the shower when she was a child? And we know how this nigga operates around children, right? So just like we said on this program, I said it on January 2nd. I was like, oh, Biden going down. Why? He fucked with that sister in St. Croix, and I took that personal. So I said, he's the next one to go. And it hasn't even been 2 weeks, and he's about to be a wrap. They done found 4 different locations with government disclosed documents on him. He's good. He's toast. He's toast. But this is another story that they're trying to suppress. And it's a story that comes from his own daughter's handwriting in her journal that said that her daddy was doing inappropriate things to her in the shower when she was a kid. And we don't need to. I seen the video in the Hunter Biden laptop when this nigga was whooping the prostitute. He was butterball naked. Pause. I can't even shake that image out of my mind. And don't tell me that was a deep fake. Don't tell me that was a deep fake. Yeah, I don't even know if that's even the nigga with the earlobes that even matches up to the body. That's a whole nother story. So, you don't even know who your president is, if he's even a real president. Like, where are we at in reality and society? I'm telling you, you better get your shit together, because when the lid come flying off and people find out the stuff that they want to ignore so much, like the shit you finding out about the jab, that's I'm like, why are we still going back and forth with niggas that's in denial? Save your breath. Y'all niggas is going overboard trying to overprove yourself to people who's in denial. You're doing yourself a disservice, inundating them with receipts at this point. Are you trying to prove yourself right for yourself, or are you trying to prove yourself right to them? Right? Yeah, because either way, you have to look at the psychology of where this is going at this point. If every single day, only thing I see people doing on their timeline is the I told you so shit. And I did it once or twice. And then I grew the fuck up, because I also understood there's people that I love, there's people that I care about who are nervous as fuck because they was forced to do this shit. So they're in a compromising position, and I'm exasperating that pain by just hitting them with receipt after receipt after receipt. Yeah, I was right. Yeah, I need an apology, right? But they need a motherfucking prayer, and they need an answer, and they gonna really need some help. They don't need me continuously telling them that they made a mistake. And then nobody got smoked for the other guys who really had a hand in this. And it's like, yeah, you could talk crazy about, because when you offer one Bill Gates program, you on to another one. Because Bill Gates is the funder behind OpenAI. So you can't be that mad at Bill Gates. You can't be. Not, you eating his food one minute, you playing on his video games the next, you utilizing his server acres, you would take it. Stop playing. And now you on OpenAI thinking that these are not masterful chess players. He's a 44 resonator. He's masterfully boxing you in. Masterfully. Without a shadow of a doubt. He opened his business on April 4th, 1975, just to show how much of a 44 resonator he is. And he been boxing niggas in ever since. Hence the fact that he has the Xbox. You can't fuck with these people with your eyes closed. Come on now. You got to be a lot smarter than them to outpace these motherfuckers. Give them at least some credit. This nigga's relentless, yo. And you're not gonna defeat these people being sleepy. You're not gonna stay one step ahead of them being sleepy, bro. You feel me? As much as you want to believe that you got one up on them because you got a social media page and you're out you're exposing the agenda. I'm exposing the agenda. Right? You're feeding into the algorithm for real, for real. At this point, you feed it into the algorithm. Right? When there should be much more of a concerted effort to really understand the geopolitics of what's taking place on a global level, because it's not separate. It's like how the body, all organ systems are connected. It's the same thing with geopolitics. And it requires you to be prepared and not reactionary to some things that you can wake up one day and not be able to react, right? What if tomorrow you wake up and they got the digital dollar in play? And everything is already online, social credit systems and everything. Are you going to react after the fact? They're meeting in Davos right now, putting up the finishing touches on shit. And once again, this is not doom and gloom, but you can't namaste this shit away. You got to really be prepared in the real world for real things that are happening in real time. And that's the only thing that we motherfucking owe you, right? Is a wake-up call, a reality wake-up call to be like, yo, look at the writing on the wall, y'all. Look at the writing on the wall, because everything else that you laughed about is about, it happened. Everything else that you wanted to push back about, it happened. And now they come in full-fledged and telling you, yeah, this is the bullshit that we on. You was told that years ago, though. You could have been in line to invest in it if that's how you wanted to deal with it. If that's how you wanted to approach it. Because some niggas only see the dollars in it. If it don't make dollar, it don't make sense. All right, we get your mind in the right place so you can get your investments in line, my nigga. If that's how you want to do it. Feel me? If that's how you want it, if that's your answer to it. Russia and Iran been teamed up militarily. What you think Syria's about? Come on, son. Come on now. Let's be a lot sharper. That's why I said geopolitics. Let's understand the political layout of the planet and how things move and who's in bed with who and why. Right? My enemy's enemy is my friend. Like, that's how they play. But at the end of the day, they all in cahoots. And you might just be the op. Would they have the ability to power everything if No, would you have the ability to power your crib if there was a mass outage in the EMP? That's what I'm saying. Primarily, first and foremost, do you have a backup generator? Fuck what they talking about or what they got access to or plans to. They've already there have already been 200 and plus power stations knocked out. They've only reported on 3 or 4 of them. So someone or some sect of people are deliberately undermining, right, these power stations around the country. And it's like, all right, you was already shown in 2021 of February what it looked like when the grid go down in the winter. That happened in Texas, right? So the signal the reactionary signal or the preparatory signal should have been like, damn, do I have access to backup generators or power? You feel me? Look, I don't even at this particular moment, and I've known about this shit for 3 or 4 years. That's the next move that I need to make sure that it's secure. Damn, do I do solar? Do I do gas? Do I do, you know what I'm saying? Like all of these questions, but you gotta have, you need to come up with answers for these questions to get your mind right. Yeah, because if you are duly prepared, you wouldn't be scared. Feel me? So it's just about reading the metrics, reading the writing on the wall, so you can be duly prepared, and you stand to benefit. If you got a backup generator, that's not you operating out of fear. You like, shit, I can utilize this. I just seen what happened in California with the storms. There's so many things that are happening where power outages are falling. You know what I mean? There's so many things that necessitate you to have a backup source of power and not be dependent on the grid. Okay, you got a gas generator. Cool. That's what's up. Gas and solar. The solar can charge while you're on a gas generator. Granted, hopefully nothing happens in the atmosphere where, where the sun is blocked out for any, repeated amount of time. But it's always good to have both. Yeah, there's these weather conditions are also global. It's snowing like crazy in China, just like it was when it was snow when we had the Arctic freeze over here in the U.S. at the end of the year. I didn't know until I did my research that the same thing, they was having crazy snow in Japan. I don't even know that Japan to have snow. Now they got crazy weather in China, and they got crazy weather on the West Coast. All of that is Pacific Ocean. What's taking place in a Pacific Ocean? That would be the educated, question. Like, what's taking place in the Pacific Ocean that now is operating like the Atlantic? Because I never seen hurricane-like conditions coming off of that water, but I'm looking at the map and I'm like, well, damn, the western seaboard is near this big ass body of water and nothing ever happened. Like, that shit is so timid that it's never act up. It never turned up. Is it a warm water condition versus a cold water condition? Like, shit is changing. Yeah, CERN could be on, HART could be on. The company that they allowed to interfere with geoengineering, right, and block out the sun, that company has said that it has dropped, all sorts of pellets into the atmosphere. Why is nobody saying, well, where did you drop it exactly? And what I'm seeing happening with all of these Arctic blasts and storms, does that have anything? Because I'm hearing terms, bomb cyclones. I'm hearing terms I've never heard before. And then I watched the movie with my baby the other day. What was that called? Geostorm. You feel me? So yeah, these is like crazy weather patterns, and it's really, it's hard to make sense out of all of this. I just know that when they locked up Daystar and they put the sun set in the west, shit ain't been the same since. I mean, you could, you can gauge me on that by taking out your research apparatus and do the knowledge. Since the day they put Daystar in the goddamn grave, which is, we call jail, the purgatory, right? Since they rolled that cage and put Daystar in the goddamn cage, and he's a Leo, he represents the sun. His daddy's name is Sunstar, he's Daystar. Since they locked the sun up, nigga, the weather ain't been the same. Now, am I lying? Am I making shit up? I'm not making shit up. Now, am I making a connection that might be far-fetched? Possibly. Right? Possibly. But has the weather been off since this nigga got locked up? Absolutely. Absolutely. Nothing's been the same. Y'all was talking about his lion's mane. Y'all been talking about his hair and his hair pieces. The whole concept, the mythological, metaphorical meaning of the sun dying on the solstice for 3 days is a whole narrative around the lion's mane. And the lion's mane represent the sun's rays. Right? And y'all so quick to talk about his hair, which is his lion's mane, and the fact that it's missing, that is the sun rays. And shit ain't been the same since. You know what I'm saying? Now, I could see if I was making it up. You know who Daystar is? Daystar's Tory Lanez. But a nigga will jump up on some God body shit and be like, what makes sleet, rain, hail, and earthquakes? The melanated man. Especially a nigga named Sunstar and Daystar. You feel me? Right? Not a nigga who's named Jeffrey and then he changed his name to Son-in-Law Born Masterful 11. Right? Not him, but a nigga who's named Daystar. Who, had the majority of the world's attention, you know what I'm saying, from during the time of C-19 all the way up into his case right around the time of Christmas when the sun dies. You feel me? So that's my piece, y'all. Yeah, Young Thug, the Leo, he going through it. That's going to be the next Leo sacrifice. So I'm going to tap out. All right, peace.